Us everyone, welcome back to Kumite 360. Thanks to everyone's messages and subscriptions and all the above in helping this podcast become top 10 in the world, Shihan Joe. I'm aiming for a top 10, so I'm pushing hard here. But ladies and gentlemen, a very, very, very special guest. He's been around a long, long time, respectfully, Shihan, and it's a real true honor, to be brutally honest. I've been influenced by him for a long, long time. Shihan Joe Thambu, good morning to you. How are you? Nice to see you.
Good morning, Patrick. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. And we find you in Melbourne. You're quite busy. Thank you for your schedule and your time and acknowledging my invite to be on the show. I appreciate it.
It's always an honor and a pleasure to be, associated with you. I remember back to the Blitz days, and yeah, it's an honor.
Thank you so much. So Shihan Joe, I mean, this journey of yours, you've shared multiple times in seminars and so forth. But again, in tapping into just a brief history of how you got yourself involved into martial arts would be great to just break the ice.
Okay. I started when I was around 11 years old.
Yes.
The year I started, Don Drager Sensei came to Malaysia with his teacher and some of his senpais. And this was in about middle of the year.
Yeah.
And I looked at them and I thought, that's what I want to be like. And so at the end of my primary school year, I approached my uncle and said, can I start training? I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I was, for many years, I was bloody hopeless.
Yeah.
But, I just wanted to be like those men. I wanted to be like Don Drager. I wanted to be, and so looking back, I thought, what a simplistic dream. But then years go by and I think, no, that was the height of ambition.
I see.
Yes. I will never achieve, to be like those men.
What an influential figure. And for those out there, Don Drager had, again, from a Kyokushin biased angle here, was influential to the likes of Sosai Oyama and John Blooming and these legends as well. So these were real men. He was a real man to a degree.
Yep. He was well associated with John Blooming.
Yes.
And there's pictures of him, Sean Connery, and Sosai together on the set of You Only Live Twice or something like that.
Yeah. It's a magic photo. Yeah.
And I think Sean Connery became a patron of Kyokushin Karate after that.
Correct. Yeah. He did. He got like an honorary, black belt from Sosai. Yeah. Oh, so that's cool. So your upbringing was in Malaysia.
In Malaysia, yes.
Okay. And how did that progress into, I guess, your later teens?
I trained Aikido. I also did Shindo Musuru Judo under Drager Sensei.
Okay.
But my passion had always been Aikido. Then I came to Australia and
what brought you to Australia, Shihan? What was
a broken promise? My father and my uncle said that if I did well at high school, they'd send me to Japan.
Okay.
And I did well, and then I said, I'm ready. And they said, maybe next year. And I thought, another broken promise. So a friend of mine was applying to come to Australia, and I said, hey, I'll go too. So I got the papers, put it in front of my mother and father to sign. My father looked at my mother and says, what's this? My mother said, I don't know. And I said, I'm going to Australia. They shrugged their shoulders, signed the papers. That was it.
How cool. Was it cool? I say it was cool.
I didn't think about, I was one of those kids who didn't think very much. It just did. Very impulsive. Yeah. Very impulsive.
And you've obviously then, I'm assuming you're 18, 19, 20, something along those lines?
18.
Yep.
And I'd come here and I did Aikikai in Melbourne University and all, but it didn't suit me at all.
Okay.
And there's a lot of friction in training.
Sure.
So I just stopped.
Okay.
And my sister had moved house to a place in Brunswick, and my brother-in-law at that time said to me, hey, you're just going crazy, not doing anything. Why don't you find a place? I'll come and train.
Yep.
And one street down was a place called Shudokan Budo Academy.
Okay.
Run by Ivan Zavechano Sensei.
Wow, listen to these names. This is so cool.
Kyokushin.
Yeah.
Went to see him, and he was teaching judo, and he said, are you interested in judo? And I said, no, I'd like to rent the dojo for Aikido. He said, no, Aikido, it never takes off. It doesn't work. Not doesn't work, but it doesn't take off.
Okay. Okay.
It's not popular.
Yes.
And I said, okay, can I watch? He said, yeah, sure. So I watched judo because I love judo. And I sat in Caesar, and he goes, you can sit in the chair. And I said, I'm good here because the chairs are
Sure.
back.
Sure.
And after 20 minutes, I was sitting in Caesar watching, and he came over and he says, what style of Aikido? And I said, Yoshinkan. And he says, okay, when do you want to start?
Okay.
And here's the
Right.
kicker, Patrick. The
Yes.
name of the dojo was Shudokan Budo Academy.
Yeah.
Same as my uncle's school,
That's it.
Shudokan, right?
Right.
And 2 months down the track, I get a letter from Draga Sensei saying,
Yes.
Joe, your uncle tells me you're having trouble finding a place. Go see my old Kodokan roommate, Ivan Zavachanos.
Bugger me.
Yeah.
The circles there have
to,
tingled me up there. That
I
is
take the letter to Ivan, and he says, why didn't you tell me you knew Draga Sensei? I said, I
well.
didn't know he was popular,
Right. Right.
I didn't know who he was. I didn't know how lucky I was, or the extent of his influence.
Yes, and to respect a little bit here of again, and a great brief there for us, and to respect that. What year is this roughly?
1980.
Hey, Shihan, I was born in 1981.
Well, that makes me feel old.
Sorry.
So
What a special moment that would have been. Wow, 1980.
1980.
And I say that to respect the, I guess, history of the arts, in regards to the positioning of it here in Australia / Melbourne. What a chapter.
And years later, in the 90s,
Yes.
I made a good friend in George Kolobos.
Us.
And he really helped me along and promoted the Aikido I was teaching in all these dojos. And we found out that we were both training in Brunswick at the same time.
Yes,
We never met them, but we were
correct.
both there at the same time. Yeah.
Geez, Brunswick, for everyone, non-listeners, that's 5 to 8 kilometers out from the CBD of Melbourne. And back then, there was a fair amount of martial arts within that vicinity of, again, the pedigree of people, that came through those suburbs were, some hardworking blue collar labor people, laborers to a degree.
Here's a story for you, Patrick. I'm not sure if
Please.
you remember that dojo?
Shihan George?
Yeah, no.
Yes.
The one in Brunswick.
Yes.
Dojo.
Yes.
In 1980, it was the oldest church in Brunswick for a start.
Correct.
Okay, it was a wooden building, and the highest point was here, and the lowest point of the dojo was here.
Right.
The highest point was where the old steam organ used to sit. So that was solid concrete, and the rest was wood, and it'd fallen away over time. Shit. I remember being thrown into the wall and have the wall move. The wall was being held up by the roof.
Oh my God.
And then it got fixed up later. But yeah, that was an amazing old place. It's still standing.
It is. Yeah. No one's touching that thing. You're not allowed to. Yeah.
No, it's on the corner of Albert and Minnie Street in East Brunswick.
Wow, so you're walking in with the approach. You've tapped some heavy shoulders there with Shihan Ivan, and then you've coincided with the, I guess, reputation that your certain Aikido is a little bit, because judo was what were the key arts that you were up against at that time? You know what I'm saying?
I didn't look at it that way, but I guess back then it would have been karate.
Yeah. Okay. So you didn't see it in a competitive. When I say competitive, not because now it is a business world. Back then it was a hobby side of things, right?
Well,
what was it for you?
It was, but I was also so bad. I wasn't anyone's competition. I was truly hopeless. I was small. I was hopeless. And it took numerous trips back to Japan and
okay.
Yeah, because my uncle's way of teaching was just do. I never asked a question. I didn't know why I was doing what I was doing. It was just the old school way, right? When you come to Australia, the first question everyone said was why.
Okay.
You said, okay, someone hits you, you put your hand up and block, and then go why. Well, if you don't block, you get hit. Okay, I'll do it. Every question was why. So you had to look back into your own training and question what you were doing.
Good. Yep.
And when you do that and come up with the answers yourself, you own those answers.
Yes.
Too often we get taught things and we don't own them. It's our
Yes.
teacher's words. But when we think about them and come up with the answers ourselves, we own those answers.
Correct. No, great point. So you continually, I'm assuming yearly or bi-yearly, you would have headed back to Japan and to just progress your learnings and then
In the
bring it
80s
back.
and 90s, in the 80s and 90s, I went to Japan a lot.
Yes.
A lot, and I stayed for long periods of time. Not as long like as some, for
Well,
5,
visas
10
were
years or
90
whatever.
days, for example,
Yeah.
2 months, 3 months.
First time I went was for 3 months, and I stayed in the dojo.
Right.
The second time I went was for 6 months, and I didn't stay in the dojo, but I was training all the time. And then after that, 1 month at a time, 6 weeks, whatever.
So you
In
had a full
2000
ambition and mission to really conquer this, to really, it
No,
was at
I
that.
just enjoyed training.
Okay. Yeah.
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 I miss Japan because when I used to go to the dojo there, I didn't care if the phone rang. I didn't care if someone new walked on the mat. My job there was just to train.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Not to worry about anything else. Just eat, sleep, train. That's it.
How cool. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was great. It was great. I miss that.
How was the interpretation for you of the teaching?
There wasn't any.
No.
When I first went, there was very little interpretation, very little translation. 1983 in Japan was a lot different from now.
Yeah, of course.
You had to stumble along, and a lot of my Japanese teachers, their English got better the more they drank.
Of course.
But otherwise, you came here to learn. You came here to learn. You make the effort. You study Japanese if you want. You make the effort.
Walk us through a day or a week of the hours you trained and the specifics of the fundamental sides. Like was it solely Irogeko? Was it just a specific?
So a normal day when I first went, things have changed. But when I first went, there were no morning classes, which I was really internally grateful for.
Right.
The first class was at 10.
Okay.
To 11:30. That's an hour and a half. And then 2 to 3:30, another hour and a half.
Right.
And then 3 1-hour classes in the evening.
Okay.
And if you're staying in the dojo, you expect to do them all.
Yes.
If you're not staying in the dojo, that's fine.
Was it seen as like uchideshi, like live-in student? Were you, were you cleaning? Were you sweeping? Were you doing jobs and
everything? Back then, if you stayed in the dojo, there were 2 levels. One was uchideshi, the other one was dojo sei. Uchideshi was someone who gave your life to the teacher, like a apprentice. A dojo sei was someone who who spent time in the dojo.
I see.
You stayed in the dojo, so the commitment level, you did the same.
Yep.
The commitment level wasn't the same as in uchideshi.
Right. So what were you?
I was a dojo sei.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Understood. Yeah, I see. And so you would then apply those months, and days and days and days of training and hours and bring them back to Australia.
Yep.
Okay.
And
how did that go down in those I know we're in the 80s, 90s block, because this was the foundation of what you have been putting years and years and years towards.
You got to remember back then, this was before VHS.
Of course.
So the only videos were those old 8mm reels.
Oh my God.
Right. And books, there was only one book out on the Aikido style that we did, was called Dynamic Aikido.
Right.
It was the only one. There were some others from other styles, which didn't quite translate to what we were doing.
Okay.
And it was different. And every time I went to Japan, I would do a seminar, go to meet a teacher or whatever, my level would be crap. Then I get back to my dojo and it would go up.
Of course.
And then it would crash.
Yeah, sure.
Next seminar or next trip to Japan, it would be rubbish. I'd come back, it'd be good, then it would crash. And it's interesting because I
Great point.
realized that when I was in Japan, I was doing what the teacher said. I was doing it their way. There was also a lot of pressure. When I came back, the pressure was off, but I also probably bastardized it and made it my own.
Okay.
So I felt better, but then I hit a
Felt
plateau
better.
and went down. Till I got to a point where I figured out ways I could check myself. And
Great.
when I didn't have a teacher, I could check myself. So when I go to Japan and I come back, it would go up.
Yes.
And then instead of dropping, it would stay because I figured out ways where I could check myself and use what my teachers were correcting me to correct myself. And that's when I really started to improve.
Yes. And I'm assuming you're taking a pun here. You're 10 to 10 years into this system of, progression and taking all this. Is this now a good block of years?
What do you mean?
So from your beginnings of going to Japan and then continuing on, and for the progression to keep going and then steady on, is that 10 years? What are we looking at? 4. Beautiful. Yeah.
40 years.
Oh, well, yeah, 40 across the whole board. Yeah, no doubt.
No. It's been about 50 odd years since I started.
Yes.
40 odd years since I went to Japan.
Yes. But for you to then start to put together what you wanted to deliver here into, your own, ways, that would have been, a good 10 to plus years of knowledge, experience, wear and tear.
I think I wanted to tell people that Aikido wasn't what most people's image of it was.
Yes.
And so I went out to do hard Aikido. There was a time when I was doing like 30 demonstrations in a year, maybe more, just to promote it and push it. And that's when I got to know, Mark Castaghini, Michael Chevalier, and all these guys, right?
Yes.
The idea of Aikido was one. I through George Kolovos, I had a lot of exposure, and through Blitz as well. And so I showed another style. But because I was working in doors of clubs, that came quite naturally.
Okay.
So I had the small man syndrome of having to prove myself. And working on clubs, you could turn the aggression off and on. But the Aikido and the systemized version gave me a vehicle to teach it.
Got it.
And so I started teaching people who are doing security, police, and that's when it started to grow. I still, I don't think I still have reached the apex.
Okay. Wow.
And I'm still progressing.
Yep.
And I hope let's put it this way, if ever my talent meets my ambition, I'll stop.
We're on.
Yeah,
well,
my talent has never touched my ambition.
Yeah. Well, you have high standards, and that's what's led you to being so disciplined and successful for so long.
Well, when I got people like Paul Kale and George Kolovos and people like that telling me, looking at me, then I know I got to keep getting better.
Yeah. The peers of your, that's a good point. So as you're progressing and as you're going, you started to obviously utilize the hype and the, I guess, of martial arts that's starting to hit Australia. But the bit for me is how did you start to push things forward? Where were you starting to say, okay, this is something that's going to be here for a long time? When did you feel that was the case? How did you start to really go further?
Well, in terms of reputation, or in terms of
all things. There would have been a point here where you're working so hard, and then you're like, okay, we, from what it was said with that Aikido was not going to take, when Ivan respectfully said, I'm not sure about this, to the point where you're like, no, we're good.
Yeah, look, the 90s, because of Steven Seagal,
I was going to say,
Aikido became popularized. I wouldn't say my Aikido is the same as his.
Right.
Neither am I one to disparage him. I've never met him, so I don't know. I've heard good and bad about him, right? Sure. But he did a lot for the Aikido world
Yep.
regardless of what your view of him is, he did a lot for the Aikido world in popularizing it. I think that together with in the 90s
Yes.
was when my dojo was at its strongest.
There we go.
I had Uchi, I had people who were there all the time.
Wow.
And I could experiment, I could train with them. And those guys would take a hard knock and there was no problem. So I could really push myself and push them. And I think that the 90s was when I started to hit a stride.
Perfect. Yeah.
But
Understood.
also, I can't discount how much Blitz did for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, not meaning to throw names around, but I got to thank, Silvio Morelli.
Of course. Yes. Yes.
Castaghini, all these guys, right?
Yes.
Stone, yourself as well.
Yeah.
You guys promoted Aikido, promoted me. I was on the cover of so many Blitz magazines and stuff like that. So that popularized me, but it also challenged me to go better, because I then had people from other martial arts saying, "Hey, come and do a seminar for us."
Yep.
And so I had to lift my game and I had to reinvent who I was depending on the seminar. And all that helped me become a better person, I think.
Shihan Joe did, for those listening, with the Blitz days, the publication. So this is a publication where features and interviews and so forth were the forefront of you being across, the understanding of these martial arts. Now, there were certain workshops that Shihan Joe would do, which were fantastic, which were broken down into an attack. And then Shihan Joe would break it down from the defense all the way through to, 5-6 images. And that they were, as basic and as fundamental as you could put them into an image, right? And that was in the early 2000s, 2000s to up to 2000, mid, 2010, 12. And that has obviously now changed. And where I'm alluding to here is when you brought up that there was no VHS, there was no, concept. And even when we went to Japan, my first time in 2004, it was VHS for the fourth world tournament of Kyokushin. And you were like, oh my God, this is it. This is going to tell us all the secrets. Now we're going to be like them, and then, like you said, the influence of Steven Seagal, I was taken back away as a young teenage boy, seeing him in Under Siege doing all these incredible moves, right? Yes, he did movies prior to that, but when Under Siege came out, I, at that young age, even said, what's going, this is impressive. This was really cool. It really took its task, took its level of exposure on cinema level and VHS to then publications, to then YouTube. And I say YouTube meaning the reference of where you were now being, allowed to see others from around the world and influenced by others. How did you start to explore or see that world? Were you against it or were you for it when you were seeing more and more of it, is my point? Because it was only in publications to a degree, it was in books to a degree, but then it was starting to, oh, wow, okay, that's interesting. That's not how I would do it. Or should they be putting that up? Or is that something we should be looking at?
Once you open that can of worms, then there's no like, everything's open.
Okay. Yeah.
You can't say I'm going to stop here or whatever. But I'm going to blame George Kolobos for this. Blitz asked me to do articles, and I said, no, I'm not interested. And they spoke to George, and George called me up and says, look, you idiot, you're going to have to do it. And I said to George, not me. I can't be bothered. Publicity, magazines. He goes, no, shut up and listen to me. You will do it. I'm telling you now, you will do it. You must do it. And, and don't be afraid of speaking about yourself in your past history. I'm going, George, no, I get to shut the fuck up and listen to me and do it. So, I'm putting him. And then from there, I was never wanted my face on the front cover. I never wanted my face to be the face of Aikido. It was always about my teacher.
Okay.
But someone said to me, that's false advertising. They're going to rock up and not see your teacher here. They're going to rock up and see you. So it has to be your face.
Yes.
And then gradually that just took off till I got to a point where, whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's just do it. And so, stuff on YouTube as well. It's like, people say, oh, you shouldn't put the secrets and out there. It's like,
Right.
the secret is training.
Right.
I can tell you everything. And if you can then do it better than me, doesn't say much for my training, right?
Okay. Now you
I
said that.
can tell you everything, but you're gonna have to practice it. You're gonna have to put in the hard
Yes.
yard and
Apply it.
make it your own. And make it your own. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that was the part I was segmenting in a way was the mystique side of, all these arts, and everyone closed door dojo, and you could only kind of peek in, and if you really wanted to see it, you got to come in and sit down in the dojo of whichever art it was to really get an idea. But then, when starting to expose things and starting to put yourself out there, like Shihan George was saying, and many of
Yeah.
us have had to expand it into business, to livelihood. Yeah. And again, your demonstrations 30 odd a year to promote the art, to promote your way of what you now this is the bit I'm going to see. How do you interpret the Aikido way for the naive person out there? Is it self-defense? Is it the terminology or the wording of self-defense that you encourage out of this, how to defend yourself? Or are you more in the exploring of the Budo, the martial art way, and understanding a martial art?
Okay. For me, spirituality, I usually use a bottle of vodka for that. Um, it's a journey, and you find what you want out of it.
Got it.
I don't tell you what you should find from Aikido. I try and I'll steal a line from Paul Kell. I try and talk to people in their language. So if you come to the dojo and you want fitness, I'll accommodate that.
Got
If
it.
you want self-defense, I'll accommodate that. I won't force things down your throat.
Got it.
But once you start to stay on, then I will introduce you to the other aspects of the art.
I see what you mean.
So I try and give you what you want, which
Yep.
is part of the art. And if you stay on, I'll try and introduce you to the other parts. But I won't tell you what is important and what is right for you. That's up to you to decide.
I see. Yes. You tick a couple of boxes there until they obviously to a degree commit and show more to
Or
you.
people will come up and ask you, look, I saw you do this. How do you do that? And I said, well, one, you train. Two,
Yep.
when you're doing it, your mind, body, and spirit just got to go one.
Yep.
And it'll happen. And they go, well, how do you do that? Okay, you want to do that, then you start to do everything I say when I say it, no questions. Yep.
Yeah.
On the mats anyway, no questions. Off the mats, ask me all you want. But
What's
that's
what's a average journey to Shodan to black belt in Aikido on a level of hours? So if I was to walk in, Shihan, and say, all right, Shihan, I'm in. All right. Okay. I want to get, I want to get to black belt. I want to be proficient in it, understand the full basics of Aikido. What is going to be the commitment that you are going to need from me to achieve this?
That's on you.
Yeah. So is it
So let me put
is
it
it
this way,
three
Patrick.
classes a week over 10 years equaling something like that?
I've had people come in and train every day, once a day, every day, and they shit. Because they come in and while they're training, they're looking at the walls and the
They're just
ceilings.
not switched on.
Yeah, other people would come in twice a week and just like nothing else exists for that twice a week.
Got it.
So it varies. Now, having said all that,
Yes.
I've promoted someone to Shodan.
Uh-huh.
I was gonna take a year to do it. I almost gave it to him in 9 or 10 months.
Oh my God. Wow.
Okay. I'll explain why in a sec.
Yeah.
He did a test, and I gave him a probationary Shodan because the time was not quite right yet. Now,
Sure.
this person and the ones like him were uchideshi.
I see. Live in. Yeah.
They would go to high schools with me. They would practically live in the dojo. They'd come in the morning, they'd leave at night. They do everything I would do in the dojo. They go everywhere with me.
Yes.
And so guys they didn't just know the technique, but guess what? When you're driving from A to B, what do you talk about? Aikido, right? And then they
Yeah.
would say to
Yeah.
me, when you were teaching the kids, you did it this way.
Yes.
Same technique you were teaching at a high school was this way. And then at night you taught adults, same technique was this way. Why?
Just
And then we
tapped into
discuss it, and
Yeah.
they know the reasoning behind it.
Yeah. They deep
So,
dived. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And so they know what's core and what's peripheral.
Got it.
People who don't ask those questions never know the difference, and takes a long time to figure out the difference between core and peripheral.
That's a
If
great
you have
point.
that conversations, then that speeds up the process.
Mm.
And these guys, I've had people say, no, you can't give someone a showdown in 1 year. No one has questioned these guys' ability. They
Sure.
look at them, they look at what they went through, they look at what they have, and they go, yeah, sure, no drama.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, that's interesting. I think also in reference to something like that, at Hombu under Sosai, with the Uchi Deshis there, that would go, you would start as white.
Yep.
After year 1, you would progress to Shodan. After year 2, Nidan, and after the 3rd year, the 1,000 days, you would have Sundan / sensei status.
Yep.
So yeah, when you're living and breathing it, like you're saying, there are different means to it.
Now, a lot of the Koryu purists would put shit on that. Right? But anyone who's seen the training under Sosa in the old days would never question the level of those people. Never. You'd be crazy to question the level, the commitment, and the expertise of those people.
Yeah.
To last 3 years in the Kyokushin Hombu Dojo.
You're crazy.
Yeah. And you got to remember, right? These guys also had to go out and earn a living.
Yeah.
So the rest, the downtime was nil. They had to go off in the evenings and teach English. And people don't understand that. They thought they were just training, full time. Yeah, they were trained full time, but they also had to go out and earn a living. Japan's not cheap. No,
it's not. Shihan, so that's some really cool topic, some really cool points there. So you okay? So I'm going to come in and give my all. Is that still an available thing under you these days?
I used to have 3-4 classes a week, and now that's down to 1 or 2.
Okay.
So people who come down, they come and stay, and we try and organize extra classes for them when they come and stay.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to change that. So in August, I ran a 2-week seminar in my uncle's dojo in Malaysia.
Oh, wow.
14 people, 2 weeks, 4 hours a day training. And in the heat in Malaysia, that's a lot. And it was really full on the mats, off the mats. Every time we got on the bus, everyone would just go like this. We were sitting up drinking till 2 or 3 in the morning, and you had to be up at 7 or 8, and you had to back it up. You had to back it up every day. I got told that some of them after the second day were looking at flights to come back. And someone told me the other day, he said, Sensei, we hated you for 2 weeks. We really hated you.
Wow.
I said, I can live with that. All of you, none of you were disrespectful. You did what I said.
Yeah.
And you went past the finish line. I can't ask for more than that. You hate me. If that helps you get over the finish line, I'm good with that. That's what I want to teach. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. What would be 2 days of that breakdown, so to understand exactly, like, is it 1 hour of, the falls, the break fall? What would be your breakup of? Just give us an example of 1 or 2 of those days.
Okay. So it varies depending, like some days, middle of the day, we went down the beach.
Yes.
So a class would be like maybe 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening.
Yes.
Or 2 1-hour classes, morning, evening. Sometimes it was like an hour and a half in the morning, an hour in the afternoon, an hour and a half in the evening.
Got it.
But they also had to be on the mat 20 minutes before class. And they couldn't leave the mat till all the instructors left.
Right.
So you had to stay on. Like if I walked off the mat and there was another instructor there, you stayed on. So 4 hours was the core time.
Yes.
and everything else was, also.
Some add-ons.
Yeah. And there was a lot of conditioning exercises, but there was also what we call it in Yoshinkan Aikido, like hajime training. So the things are done like in Kyokushin to the count: each, ni, sa, each, ni, sa, each, ni, sa, each, ni, sa, and then hajime, 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 hajime. And you just go bang, bang, bang. And you imagine doing that for an hour in the Malaysian heat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've seen images of your, I'm going to say horrific injuries to your elbow. I remember you did a post on your socials, and I nearly vomited in my mouth because if you get a chance, follow some of Shihan's socials, because he's upfront, and he was in. I think you had an operation. You've had some various ones. Now, I'm not trying to put it. I'm not trying to put it off here for those listening that want to venture into the Aikido world, but how have you've prolonged it? You're nearly up to your 50th year of continually training and mastering this. How are you going? And give us a bit of a tease on how some of these injuries, due to the respect of what you're, doing, these throws, these amazing, slash dangerous.
I have arthritis in my upper joints.
Yes.
All the way from here to here.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
And I asked my surgeon, I said, am I prone to arthritis? And the surgeon says, no, what you do makes you prone to arthritis. Right?
Damn it.
I've had one operation here, one here, and 5 here.
Fuck.
And then last year, I was fixing some furniture, really heavy piece of furniture, and it fell across my knee.
Oh, fuck.
So
it's got nothing to do with Aikido.
Nothing to do with Aikido. And all my friends say, you idiot, you shouldn't try and throw furniture around. But I was really heavy piece. I tried to lower it, stop the fall. It didn't.
Bam.
But I didn't do anything about it. I had two trips overseas. I came back, had an MRI, and the doctor says, you've hurt your knee before. And I said, no, I haven't. He said, yes, you have. I said, no, I haven't. The doctor did Aikido a long time ago. I said, you go and watch me do, demonstrations. Never heard it. And he said to me, no one can do that much damage in one go.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, I just totally fucked up my knee.
Yeah.
Had an operation. 6 weeks later, I was teaching in Ecuador.
Oh, my God.
And I was teaching the police out in the open, paramilitary.
Yes.
And one guy decided to go Viking on me.
Fuck.
And I re-tore the meniscus and
bro.
So I had to lie to my surgeon. I told him I got out the car and the ground was uneven and I twisted. Because if I told him what I'd done, he would have killed me. But it's improving now. And to answer your question, it's at my age now and with the injuries. I mean, I'm not decrepit or anything, but it's no longer about what I can't do. It's about what I can do.
Got it.
So growing up, I was always, again, the short man syndrome.
Sure.
There's always been, you tell me what I can't do and I'll do it. I want to do what I can't do. Now I'm doing what I can and I'm selective about what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Give us a run through of the year that's been from a travel aspect, meaning the seminars, the opportunities that you've been getting all across the world. I'd love to hear a bit of a timeline on how that goes.
Okay, we'll take this year, for example. At the start of this year, in January, February, I went to Malaysia to do an opening. We renovated my uncle's dojo and we did dedication to him.
Nice.
Opened the dojo. So that was in January, February.
Yep.
In April, I went to Toronto.
Okay.
To teach there. It was a closed in-house seminar for a friend's dojo.
How many attend that roughly?
That was closed door, so it was
closed door boutique. Yep. Got it.
20 people for his students only.
That's nice. Yep.
And then in May, I went to Europe.
Right.
To a couple of countries in Europe.
Yeah.
In June, I went back to Toronto. In July, I had a training camp in the mountains in Czech Republic and also in England.
Yeah, right.
August, I had that the 2 week thing in Malaysia.
Yep.
And Paul came for that too. Paul Kale
Yep.
came for that as well at the end
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
I've got a seminar.
And then you were at a
Brisbane.
camp with Kylie Bates and Sensei Kylie Bates'
Yeah,
camp
yeah,
in Melbourne. Yeah. Yeah.
in Melbourne. I don't count that because it's home.
Wasn't overseas. Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's quite a busy
Yeah.
agenda already. Yeah.
At the end of this week, I'm in Brisbane. And then I come back and I go to Ukraine and Ukraine, Czech Republic, and Belgium.
And so that trip that's coming up, Ukraine and so forth, that is how do I put it? So like, is it a day thing, a weekend camp that you're attending, and that it's all specific to Aikido? Is it a mixture of things?
It's specific to Aikido. So I was meant to go to Belgium for one weekend. During the week, I teach at a dojo in Czech Republic and finish with another seminar in Czech Republic.
Yeah, right.
So it's usually seminar, and I teach during the week.
Yeah.
But I'm doing a charity thing in Ukraine the weekend before.
And how is that chapter for you now, doing this level of, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, it's immense knowledge you have. It's immense hours and years of training. So how are you positioning it? What are you positioning it to now? Are you positioning it to those at these seminars and camps as, again, more of a self-defense angle, or more of a, hey, this is something that we really need to go back and focus on? Where are you at with it?
So, I asked one of my teachers a long time ago. I said to him, wherever I go, people want me to teach restraining techniques, arresting techniques, self-defense. But I want to teach the Aikido that he was teaching, like really high level, almost the purest type Aikido.
Right.
And he said to me, what you do is Aikido. What I do is Aikido. What the other teachers do is Aikido. Accept that. And I thought, what a wanky answer.
I don't want to buy that.
Yeah, what a wanky answer. But then I thought about it, and what he said was right. It's all Aikido, accept it. Teach what you want and aspire to be what you want. But don't say that because you want to do this is not Aikido.
Right.
Accept it all, So the self-defense, the weapons, everything is all part of the parcel. Pick what you want to do. Don't never say that's not it.
Got it.
That was his message.
I like
it. So, Patrick, when I go to a seminar, if I haven't taught that before, I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay.
If I don't know the people, right? So it's probably usually Friday evening, all day Saturday, all day Sunday.
Yeah.
Within the first 10 minutes of that first class, I know what I'm doing for the whole week.
Yeah.
Because I will do something very simple.
Yep.
And if people are looking around like this because it's simple, if I don't have your attention in the first 10 minutes, you don't have the discipline.
Yeah.
If I'm showing them something simple and they're all over the place like baby giraffes,
got it.
I can't teach you anything dangerous or anything.
Can't move on. Yeah. No, we can't.
In the first 10 minutes, I know what I want to do and I know where I'm going to take it.
Yeah, that's a very, very cool. For those that don't appreciate or aren't teachers, you will need to appreciate what Shihan just said there. To be able to walk into a world or a country and just within 10 minutes know, we can't move on to B and C. You're not even good at A.
Or split it, right? Everyone here, come over here. This group over here. I do that too sometimes. I don't teach across the board. I'll split people up and give them stuff to their level.
Do you have over the, again, not just now, but in your last, let's say 10 years, how is and I've had a bit of a theme over the last couple of months in regards to cross training, meaning other martial artists, a Kyokushin person coming into an Aikido school or a BJJ going into Aikido too. Have you had a mixture of those types of students over the years?
Yep. I wouldn't say Paul Kale is my student, but he'll say I'm his teacher.
Understood.
Right?
Understood.
I treat him as an equal. Actually, I treat him as my peer now.
Awesome.
But he's one of those.
Yes.
When he first started training with me, he had, he's doing Kyokushin or Seido. And he did a lot of other things as well, as you well know. Listening to Drago Sensei speak as well when I was a kid, I understood that to do that sort of thing successfully, you had to be able to compartmentalize your mind.
Yes.
If you cannot do it, if you cannot compartmentalize,
Yes.
then it's not for you.
Got it.
Cross training is not for you. I can't do that.
No.
I'm a one-minded
One-man
single track
band.
pony. Yeah. So for me, if I learn something, I always bring it back to what I do, and
I see.
but it happened like this, it happened like that. So that's no good. Someone like Paul Kell, you say something, he'll go, everything else is boxed out.
Yeah.
He'll concentrate on that. And that's what Dragon Sensei explained as well. You compartmentalize, you make it, you learn that, and then somewhere down the track, it melds together.
Got
But
it.
if you try and meld it as you're learning it, it ain't going to happen.
Dragon Sensei had a big influence, obviously, on you. What were some of the key things, again, in sharing, again, a lot of knowledge and wealth here from both? What was some of the key things now that you can probably, when he said it to you a long time ago, that you're using to this day?
So my regret was when I knew him, or
Yes.
when he came to my uncle's dojo in Malaysia. He'd come every year and used it
Wow.
as his base for research
Got it.
for his book. He used to teach me. He used to talk to me. I take him his mail. I remember once taking him his mail, and I gave him his mail, and
Wow.
he said, and I stood there, and he said, "Do you want something?" And I said, "Can I ask you a question?" He said, "Yes." And I said, one letter said Major Don F. Drager. The other one said Professor Don F. Drager. The third said Doctor.
Wow.
I said to him, which is it? He goes, a bit of all, bit of everything.
Right. Yeah.
So, just those insights, like, the humility of the man. It was like, he used to say to me, do your homework, do this around the dojo, polish my shoes. I will teach you a one-on-one lesson.
Ooh.
Things like that. And I did it, but I didn't realize how lucky I was. Going back to some of the things he said.
Yes.
I remember once I was going to his class, and I came flying down in my bicycle, which didn't have brakes or anything. And I couldn't stop. So I had to throw the bike, end up scuffing my knees really badly.
Old school.
When ran home, my sister bandaged it, but blood was still seeping through my knees. I ran to the dojo, blood going through my gi pants. And I stood there, I said, bowed, he bowed. I said, "Sorry, sensei, and he walked away." And for years, I felt bad. And then I realized that I felt bad because I didn't get the chance to explain why I was late.
Right.
For him, it doesn't matter. You're there or you're not there. You're not there, doesn't matter. You're there now, it matters. Explanation is not necessary. But I felt bad because my ego didn't get the chance to explain.
Yeah, right.
It took me a long time to process that. But now I see that in my students.
Yes.
They want to explain why they didn't do a good test. They want to explain why they were late. It don't fucking matter. Right? If you work on a door of a nightclub, right?
Yes.
And the person you're working with is 20 minutes late, and you get your head kicked in.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter why they were late.
It's happened.
You got your head kicked in because you're working alone.
It's done.
Yeah. So, it's the reasons and excuses, they're immaterial in martial arts. You're there or you're not there.
That is a very, 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 I smile because I position something similar, and again, in this day and age, to the kids and teens. And I say to my kids, just as a quick story, I drop them off at school. I'm very lucky I get to drop them off in the morning. I've got 3 under 11 now. And I say to them, you be ready. Don't have me say, are you ready? Come on, are you ready? And then my wife's like, God, you're putting a bit of pressure on them early in the morning. I said, bullshit. They'll be ready. And then I open the door when they're not ready, and I shut it. And you hear them, oh, shit. You hear them go into oh, no. And I just walk to the car, and they're like, fuck. And they got to run it. And I say that to them, but then also to the kids that I teach. I start every class in Furadachi Oi. They line up, and then I say to them, this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old kids. And I said, and I point to each one, positive of the week. and they have to give me a positive of the week. Oh, I helped dad. I helped mom. My auntie came over. We traveled, and I love. It gives me a chance to slow things down for them, and they can build some confidence in talking. However, back to the way you just said, well, it's done. And I said, I go to someone and I stand in front of them, Shihan, as an expression of build some confidence. Talk to me. It's okay. Yes, I'm your teacher, but you should, And I go positive of the week, and some go, and they've been with me for years. And then I move on to the next student, and you see them go, the fuck? Oh shit. And you see some of the parents kind of do oh, that's a bit, oh, and I'm like, and then I come back to them and I say, you had a chance. You've had all week to prepare for a positive of the week, yet you don't have one. And then they go, and I'm just saying, I'm trying to help you here. I'm just giving you that window. And Hunchy Eddie Emin.
Yep.
Hunchy Eddie, he didn't have a so-called positive of the week.
No, back in that day, no such thing.
But he had a way that when you would line up in Furadachi or be ready to go, and those students that would come in late and go into Seizan, and geez, would he embarrass the shit out of them? He would just do what are you doing over there? So all of us would be like, who's that? Oh shit. He's like, what's wrong with you? And there could have been a situation. There could have been a moment, a sad thing, or God forbid they were in an accident. And all you had to say was, us. Yeah. Us.
That's it.
Us.
That's it.
Yeah. No. And then someone once said, oh, shit. And he goes, I don't give a shit. Just say us. And then we were like, oh my God.
Yeah. Can you imagine, right, in the 70s, teaching the yellow cab drivers and asking them for a positive of the week? They go, fuck off, you fairy.
Fuck off, mate. I got other shit to tell you.
Exactly. Yeah.
What a time that would have been. Yeah. You would have seen all those times as well, huh?
Yep. Another thing.
Yes.
That Draga Sensei once said. He said
please.
The true test of any martial art was the test of time.
Right.
For as long as you have something to offer society, you will stay valid, you will stay alive.
Beautiful.
When you no longer have something to offer society, you will die out.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So and people talk about change to stay alive.
Yep.
And I used to think, look, it's a real shame if something dies out, but then I'm in that position where I won't change. If I change so much, I don't recognize myself in the mirror just to survive. Why survive?
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm at a point now where that's really resonating.
Yes.
Do I want to change so much that I don't recognize myself?
Yeah.
Do I want to give everyone a participation award?
Yes.
Do I want to pass everyone who does a test just so I can survive and stay valid? I don't want to do that.
No. Yeah, good point. Yeah, it is.
And we're all facing that at the moment.
Yes, absolutely. And it's
I'm not saying right or wrong, or I'm not judging anyone.
No.
I'm just judging myself. And what will I do to stay valid? Certain things I won't do. I'd rather just.
But that's the saying, being true to yourself, right? And being true to 50 odd years, approaching 50 years of what you've instilled and just continued to forge, and not be too influenced by what's happening these days.
There's a lot of connotations of the word os.
Yes.
Like, I'll persevere, I won't give up,
correct,
whatever, right? I was once told, os, every time you say os,
yes,
you're reaffirming the style of martial art you do. You're reaffirming the tenets of that martial art. So you're saying os, that means I do Kyokushin.
Yes.
Right? Os, I do Yoshinkan Aikido. Yeah. And I believe in the tenets of that art.
It. Yeah.
So every time you're saying os, you're reaffirming what you're doing and who you are.
Yeah, man.
Not just I will persevere, and that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
And if I change things so much, then that word os is just going to be like us.
Yeah.
And you and I would pull our hair out if I had any. But if in the os like this.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. See, people don't understand that, right?
Yeah. No, but they don't. But that is that is a cool part of bringing that up. And that's another reflection for me, because I've instilled it in the kids, in the teens, and as adults already do anyway. When you enter the dojo and leave the dojo, is that an etiquette that's part of Aikido as well? When you come in and you have to bow us?
It's interesting you should ask that. It's frowned upon in Aikido.
Why is that?
Frowned upon in a lot of Koryu. It's rude. It's
Yeah,
lateral.
it's a bit
In Aikido
interruptive.
too. Lots of karate styles as well.
Yeah.
So here's my question to you. Why is it done in Kyokushin Karate? Why is it done in Yoshinkan Aikido?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Some schools of judo.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
No.
Do you know the university called Takoshoku University?
No, I don't. Sorry, no.
Sosai went there for a little while.
Oh, wow.
Nakamura went there.
Okay.
Kimura from
Kimura, judo.
Yeah.
Judo Kimura, yes.
Shioda Gozo went there.
Oh my God.
Right. So that university, I don't think was known for its academic prowess.
University of badasses.
Very strong martial background in that university. Okay.
Yes.
And all of those people were in competition with each other, friendly competition, but in competition. And they took away that martial aspect. So when they went back to what they did, their own dojos, or they set up dojos,
yes,
they took that flavor of takushoku with them.
Okay.
And it was, I cannot, like Japanese universities have that bond of Oxford or Eton.
Yeah.
Really close. And the senpai kohai thing was really close. That networking is really close. Kimura and Shioda were really close friends.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Kimura was a monster, right?
Oh,
and
man.
Shioda was smaller than me.
Yeah,
but they were
right.
really close friends, yeah. And but that university bred that.
What can I ask? Why do you know the history of why they were all there at that time? Was it just for that martial arts?
I'm not sure if it was all at the same time, but around the same time.
Okay, all right, within that. And so this etiquette of the us, bowing on of
it
the
was
us,
pre-war,
okay.
right? It was pre-war.
Yeah, 40. Yeah. 30s, 30s,
pre-war,
40s.
Yeah. 20s.
Yeah.
Now, there's this. I could be wrong, but back then there was a resurgence of Japanese culture, Japanese identity, Japanese spirit called Yamato Damashi. And there were universities that were right-wing. Takoshoku was right-wing.
Yes.
Very right-wing university. And it promoted that Yamato Damashi. And part of that, through the martial arts, was that pushing and that word os.
Yes.
But also you have to remember that the Japanese Navy used it. The Yakuza used it.
Okay.
So it was frowned upon. But people have said to me, you shouldn't use that. It's banned in Japanese places because of bullying, etc., etc. And I said there's a lot of other reasons for bullying in Japanese society. None of my teachers bullied me. They worked me hard. So os for me does not represent bullying. It represents reaffirmation of who I am every time I bow and say os.
Very good point. Yeah, a little bit of nuggets there. That was very cool to hear, Shihan. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's got me now going back to a little bit of a reading session of really understanding why we say it.
And also, the characters in os is like to hide and to persevere.
Correct.
So if you're feeling pain, you hide it. If you are angry, you hide it and you persevere. You don't show your anger. You don't show your pain. That's what I was taught. Yeah.
To endure.
To endure, yeah. And not to wear your heart on your sleeve. In the dojo, your teacher yells at you, you just bow and say, "Os."
Yes.
And you don't show anger. The teacher could be wrong, but you just suck it up, right? Like what Hanshi said.
Hanshi,
yeah. And another connotation of the word os is another way to think of it, another way to think of it is to be, please be patient. So when the teacher's yelling at you and you bow and you say os, you're saying, please be patient with me.
Yeah.
You bow to your partner before, after the class, please be patient with me. You make a mistake, you bow, you say os, please be patient.
Yes.
You walk into the dojo, you bow, say os, please be patient.
Yes.
You cannot have perseverance without patience, right?
No. And that the three key words of the definition within Kyokushin us is patience, perseverance, determination.
Yep.
in a quick summary,
That
and
sums
how how deep is each three words in the journey of what that student is trying to work towards, and perseverance whilst being pushed. The 3 years on a rock it was a usnos shin. Usnos shin is that persevere whilst being pushed,
Yep.
to endure. Yeah, that's a great point you brought up, because I didn't know, and I'm sure other listeners may not have been aware, that it was frowned upon in other styles or other arts.
So I was doing Shindo Musuri Jodo, and we were teacher was telling us stuff, and we were saying os, and they were getting really angry with us because it was guttural, and it took Drager Sensei to explain to the Japanese teachers why we said os, and then they were going, okay, don't say it, and we said os.
Oh shit.
So, it's habit. But there's other teachers who do Koryu, but they'll accept it of us because they know the spirit in which we're saying it. And yet others will say, don't say that. It's really bad. It's really wrong.
I was just trying to think, even if a little bit off topic, is Hanshi Tino Sobrano with Goju. Do they say? I've trained with them many times. I'm trying to think if they've ever said it.
I am not sure. I'm not sure.
Made me think about it. That's all, because I was like, oh, I got to be careful.
When I go to, like, with other Aikido people, they would, when I was younger, I'd have to hold myself back from saying os. Now I don't care. I'll just say os.
So if I enter your dojo, am I? Give me a 30-second etiquette piece there. My shoes are off before entering.
You bow, you say os, and
at the door, upon the door.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, and then as I approach to see you, because when I've seen you, I just say os. But what?
Os, and I will return that to you.
Yeah.
Same way. Yeah. I force all the kids who come into my dojo to say os loudly.
Yes.
And the parents look at me, and I would not talk to the parents. I would say to the kids, you don't sneak into my house. You announce yourself when you come to my house.
Oh, I love that.
Be proud of who you are. Announce yourself.
Acknowledge.
Don't sneak into my house. Yeah.
Oh, sneak into the house. I love that bit. Yes.
And that's really important, because you're here to train. You're here to become a better person. Be proud of it.
Beautiful. Yeah. Shihan, I told you, time flies, didn't I?
Flies, yeah.
I said it's going to go quick, and I love it though. I have what a beautiful chat it's been with you this morning. I really appreciate it, and to all the listeners, it's probably been a bit of a long time coming, as is Shihan Paul, but it was a part of the journey that I've been on in just acknowledging certain people and interviewing them and giving them their flowers, as they say, because you've been a massive, massive influential figure in martial arts here in Australia. No doubt now more around the world with all your travels, and I commend you, and I look up to you a lot, Shihan, and well done on your journey thus far. I'm not saying anything more towards your achievements, but it speaks for itself, and congratulations to you,
Patrick. Anything I've achieved is because I've stood on the shoulders of giants, and my teachers helped me to get where I am, and I'd be nothing without them. So, any kudos goes to my teachers.
Great job. Great acknowledgement. Lovely talking. Let's get you back on in like what I'd love to continue doing is following on the trajectory of what's going on for everyone to keep appreciating what you've been doing. A big wish to you. Go for it. Go for it, Shihan. Go for it.
When you talk to Paul, ask Paul about his trip to my uncle's dojo. He was just like blown out of his mind.
Awesome.
And he kept abusing me. Why haven't I been here before?
Where give your uncle's dojo a bit of a call out? In which part of Malaysia is it, or what can people look it up?
Called Seramban.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small town called Seramban, and Paul is running a special course there, a living course at the dojo in early December.
Yeah, right.
So have a chat with him about it. Yeah,
everyone, I'll put up Shihan Joe's social media links. Write him a message at any time. No doubt he would love for you to come and venture in and do a bit of an Aikido session.
Or just have a chat. Yeah.
Or have a chat. Bigos, thanks, Shihan, so much for your time. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you at the next one.
Thank you, Patrick.